Hey all you mercenaries, it's One True Mitch and welcome to my anti-zombie weapon tier list. Being a zombie mode main, I've had a lot of experience with various weapons over the various maps, and I found myself preferring one weapon over the next, at least when I actually try in this mode. I feel like I've had a lot of practice with anti-zombie weapons to make a tier list of this. That said, I won't rank weapons that only have anti-zombie capabilities. Any weapon that grants, or at least gets, a boost in zombie mode will be included. That means, while you can get by with pretty much any weapon in this mode, they'll rank lowest on the list for the sake of this video. Here's how I'll rank the anti-zombie weapons. F-tier weapons will be those that are not specifically anti-zombie, or are not suited for taking on zombie mode, at least in comparison to the other weapons in the higher tiers. D-tier weapons will be the lowest viable weapons, and though I say viable, these weapons are ones you'd use if you kind of want to give yourself more of a challenge. C-tier weapons are what I'd consider to be the average of anti-zombie weapons. They're better suited for zombie mode than regular weapons, but fall far away from being recognized by me as a reliable source of damage, at least in the context of this video. B-tier weapons are above average, and they make the mode a lot easier, as they deal a lot of damage in a short time. This is also the tier in which I consider the weapons great in all three zombie modes, though modes like Zombie 1 and 2 are better suited. A-tier weapons are amazing anti-zombie weapons. They are great at all three zombie modes equally, and have anti-zombie capabilities that trump every tier below it by a long shot. And finally, S-tier weapons. Think of the A-tier weapons, but consider using these weapons easy mode on zombie mode. Their anti-zombie capabilities are unparalleled. So that's the gist of how I see the tiers. We clear? Good. Now, as with most tier lists, it's better to start from the bottom and go up, and I'll do just that. Starting with the F tiers. This is where I place pretty much every non-anti-zombie weapon. While they can be useful, they don't have anything special that sets them apart from the actual weapons for this list. This is where I'd also place the AK Obsidian Beast, M4A1 Jewelry, as well as the RPK Infernal Dragon here, with the RPK probably the highest, being mid or high F tier. The AK is more or less just a normal AK knife, but with 50 bullets instead of 35. And while the M4A1 Jewelry gives you one extra life, it's kind of really easy to get revive tokens now, so it's kind of a meh skill to have. It's the same with the RPK. While the extra ammo and score it gives out just from having the RPK in the bag is nice, these weapons don't actually deal increased damage in the game. Now we'll move up to the D tier weapons. Oddly enough, I know I said no anti-zombie weapons would place above F tier, but I already gotta contradict myself. This is where I'd place 4 specific melee weapons: the baseball bat, the shovel, the katana, and the kris. Despite them not being anti-zombie, they are, or at least I should say were, the best melee weapons to use in zombie mode. They benefit from increased damage somehow, and were very reliable back in the day. Partnering the melees, I decided to put the Thompson Infernal Dragon in D tier. The weapon is much more manageable to use than the RPK and AK. It also benefits from not only having better accuracy and firing rate, but it also gives a higher zombie mode score increase for you and other players in the room with you. As for other weapons, I decided to put a few anti-zombie weapons in here, those being the Anaconda Fatal Wasp and RSH-12 Infection. They're far more potent in PvP, but they deal very minimal damage in anything but zombie mode 1. In terms of where I'd place what, I'd put the Katana and Kris at the lower end of the D tier, while the Shovel and Thompson would inherit the high D tier slots. I'd place the Anaconda with the Tommy and Shovel, while keeping the RSH-12 around mid tier. On to the C tier weapons. This was an odd tier to look at. While I did call it average, that was mostly because I kept the Fatal Wasp and Infection weapon sets in mind. They do have higher damage to zombies, that's for sure, but they aren't comparable to the weapons on higher tiers. For this tier, I placed the CETME Amelie and M14 EBR Fatal Wasps, the Vector and AK-12 Infections, as well as the anti-zombie melee weapons, the Nunchaku, Plasma Knives, and Dragon Blade. I grouped the anti-zombie weapon melees to be average because, well, they kind of are. I can't speak for the Plasma Knives or actual Dragon Blade, but from what I've seen, they act pretty much like the Nunchaku. They all feature special chargeable attacks that give out invulnerability and or raise damage output in exchange for lowered movements. Well, except the Plasma Knives. They actually seem a bit viable. Lastly, the anti-zombie grenades, the golden, anti-zombie, and Vulcan grenades would be here as well. While they are very powerful, their one-time use restricts how well they can perform. I'd rate the anti-zombie guns on mid-tier. They're the definition of average in terms of anti-zombie capability, while I'd place the melees and grenades on the lower tier. They just don't deal enough damage to sustain the protect mission of Zombie Mode 2, or anything that is Zombie Mode 3. And coming in at B tier, we start to see the real anti-zombie weapons. These weapons are generally slightly above average, and the reason to stay away from the lower tiers are solely because of their abilities. For this tier, I have 3 weapons. The M204B Tesla, the M4A1 Obsidian Beast, as well as the, I don't know how to really pronounce this, but the Xuan Yuan sword? The I don't know, we'll call it the Yuan sword. I placed this particular melee in higher rank because it's not only pretty effective against zombies, but it also has the ability to heal you for 1 HP per kill, and that's not including potential HP regen from rings. I placed the M4 Obsidian Beast here for mostly the same reason. While it isn't necessarily an anti-zombie weapon in stats, as it gains neither increased ammo or damage, just having this gun in your bag gives you the ability to deal critical hits that heal you for every time they activate, and depending on the weapon you use, it might happen fairly often. Lastly, I placed the M204B Tesla here. It was the first real anti-zombie weapon, with it not only dealing critical damage every few bullets, but it also had increased damage to zombies as well as the ability to shoot a Tesla bullet that deals moderate damage and a small AoE. It used to be good, but with the rise of the weapons on the higher tiers, well, the weapon just can't compare. Not to mention, man, this gun is just so loud. In terms of placement, I think the M4 would have to be the lowest due to its very niche ability, with the Tesla and Yuan sword occupying the high B rank because of their superior firepower. And now we're getting into the good stuff. A tier is basically the best, and while some weapons could probably make it here, like a TMP with 42 extra bullets, they still pale in comparison to these 3 weapons. They are, of course, the AN-94 Spaceship, the Gatling Gun Infernal Dragon, and my personal favorite, the P90 Wild Shot. This also includes the P90 Fatal Wasp, but because the Wild Shot and Fatal Wasp are basically the same weapon, I'll just be talking about the Wild Shot. Starting with the AN-94 Spaceship, I could argue that it deserves this tier based on its special charge alone. However, its insanely fast reload, as well as its ability to refund 2 bullets per headshot, give it an edge over the weapons below this tier even without its charge attack. It's funny to think that the Gatling Gun Infernal Dragon only has 1 ZM perk, that being that it gives 30% extra score, yet it's placed well above every other weapon on the list. It's the only MG to feature a base of 200 plus ammo, giving players a lot of time to mow down zombies. It's also drastically lighter than any Gatling to date, has a faster firing speed and a fast reload that can be cancelled by using its knife attachment. While it doesn't necessarily deal increased damage, the sheer number of bullets is more than enough to sustain itself in all 3 ZM modes. Lastly, we come to the best the A tier has to offer, and my personal favorite anti-zombie weapon, the P90 Wild Shot. While I'm more than comfortable to admit that I love this anti-zombie weapon more than most others on this list, I gotta acknowledge its weak points, and why it doesn't necessarily deserve S tier. While it's true this wild weapon is inherently very powerful, it lacks the ability to take out zombies quickly in Zombie Mode 2, even in its charged form. It also runs dry quickly, as each click fires off 2 bullets. The main reason it's in the A tier rather than the S tier is its lack of crowd control. You'll see that the S tier weapons can take out crowds of zombies very quickly, and since the Wild Shot can't do that, I'm keeping it at this tier. However, this weapon still does make Zombie Mode easy in most regards, and if I had to choose, this weapon would be on the brink of S tier. I think that the Gatling gun would stay low to mid A tier, as it only has its fast fire rate and reload speed to keep it relevant. The AN-94 and P90 would be high tier, with the P90 being its highest due to its sheer power. And now we arrive at the last tier. Like I said, this tier is basically what the A tier gives, but it supercharges their abilities. There are only 2 weapons I consider to be top tier. These 2 weapons are the AA-12 Buster and Infection, and the SR-25 Burning Shot. I don't think that these 2 weapons really need an explanation as to why they get their ratings, but I'll talk about it anyways. The AA-12 Buster and Infection both have the highest anti-zombie capability in the entire game. They're both very powerful DPS guns, but with them having drastically increased damage, a small tagging effect, and a very fast firing rate. The thing that separates it from A tier is its charge attack, the HE grenades. Not only do these deal an incredible amount of damage, but they also offer a small AoE. This helps with clearing groups of zombies or whittling down boss health. The final anti-zombie weapon is the aforementioned SR-25 Burning Shot. This semi-auto sniper has increased ammo when in zombie mode, as well as an aim reticle that gives it 100% accuracy when standing still. It also features above average damage in zombie mode, except when you target the zombie weak points. That's when this gun really shines. Unlike most other anti-zombie weapons that deal slightly increased damage to weak points, the SR-25 about triples its damage, and it makes sense considering it's a sniper. That isn't the only cool thing about this though. It features quite possibly the best charge shot in the entire game, burning shot grenades. These not only cover a wide area, but those afflicted with burning take health damage and are slowed a little bit. These perks help it rise to the S tier. With the S tier, I'll say that there's no need for lower high tier versions. The AA and SR-25 are both equally powerful in their own ways, and while some might like the pure DPS of the AA-12, others might like the punishing power of the SR-25's charge attacks. And that about does it for this anti-zombie tier list. What do you guys think, and where would you place these weapons if you had to choose yourself? Leave them in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.